Here on this video we will explain 10 different life cycles of the Xenomorph life forms. All are canon to the movie timeline, from the first Alien movie to the Prometheus and Alien Covenant prequels. I bet most only know the general egg to drone or queen Xeno cycle, but there are 9 more, including the ones that brought about the Neomorph and the Deacon forms, all starting from the black goo. So let's get to this monster content. Number 1. The common life cycle. The first one is the common one, which we all know by heart by now. First, it starts with the queen Xenomorph, and this specimen lays many eggs, or also called ovomorphs. From the egg comes the Facehugger, which, as the name suggests, wraps around a human's head and implants a small embryo in the oesophagus of the victim. The embryo grows and bursts out of the chest as a baby Xenomorph called a chestburster, which then grows rapidly into a mature Xenomorph, which could either be a drone or a queen depending on the type of Facehugger. Number 2. The Hammerpede life cycle. This is a primal life cycle which is very simple and doesn't really bring out a Xenomorph, but rather a mutated form of the host creature. It starts with the black goo, which is also known as chemical A03959X.91-15, which is a highly mutative substance/pathogen. This black goo will either disintegrate the body of an incompatible host, such as engineers, as seen in the beginning of Prometheus and in the planet paradise of Alien Covenant. While incompatible hosts are killed outright, the compatible ones are mutated into highly aggressive monsters dubbed as Anathema or Abominations, such as in the case of the small worms, which become the Hammerpede. Number 3. The Deacon life cycle. This also starts with the black goo or chemical A03959X.91-15. While direct exposure to large amounts of it will either kill incompatible hosts and mutate the ones that are compatible, a tiny dose of it, if ingested by male humans, would then let it travel to their reproductive system, and then the black goo will be transmitted into the female human through sex, and within that, a cephalopod-like organism will develop called a trilobite. The trilobite here serves as some sort of a primordial facehugger form, which is many times larger, and if it gets to implant its embryo inside an engineer, then a weird form of a Xenomorph will eventually burst out of the engineer, and it will develop into a slender but highly deadly form called a Deacon. Number 4. The Neomorph life cycle. This starts again with a black goo released by the android called David on the planet Paradise life forms, which mutate the species into monstrous abominations that die quickly, and then the dead bodies decompose and leave behind small egg sacs which look like fungal spore sacs. Microscopic dust-like spores called motes are then released, and when they enter humans, within a couple of hours, juvenile Neomorphs would burst out of the victim's body. Unlike Xenomorphs, Neomorphs have an incredibly short lifespan, and they typically die within 24 hours of their birth, and fungus that interacts with the corpse of a Neomorph will be transformed into new egg sacs, therefore restarting the life cycle. Number 5. The praetomorph life cycle. Yet another one that starts with the black goo. This one is kind of speculative, but it involves a dead Neomorph-like creature which the android David experiments on to create a bigger and a protoform of an ovomorph, just like the normal eggs from the classical life cycle. A protoform of a facehugger will then emerge from the egg. The difference is that this facehugger's blood is less acidic, and the facehugger is also quite bigger. When the facehugger gets to implant its embryo inside a human, a chestburster would eventually emerge from the victim, but this chestburster looks like a miniature form of its mature version, unlike the classical Xenomorph chestburster which slithers away like a snake. The mature form is then called a protomorph or a praetomorph. Number 6. The original life cycle. I swear this is the last one that starts with the black goo, and this involves the work of the space jockey engineers rather than the android David. With hundreds of thousands of years, or maybe millions or even billions of years of advanced technology behind them, the experimentation by the engineers would obviously be more sophisticated than David. They of course create the eggs or the ovomorphs, the original ones from Akron or LV-426 in the first Alien movie, and so it's egg, then facehugger, then human host, and finally the drone Xenomorph, the classical one. but this one is the original. Number 7. The newborn life cycle. This one includes the queen embryo that was inside Ripley's body for a long time, especially under stasis, or also called cryogenic sleep. The long duration of the queen chestburster being inside the body of a female human being, or Ripley, inadvertently causes it to fuse and ingest the female human DNA, it getting a double Y chromosome. So when the queen matures, it retains its ability to lay eggs, but after a while, it develops a womb. As said in the movie Alien Resurrection, Ripley's gift to the Xenomorphs, the queen's womb, therefore not needing the hassle to make ovomorphs anymore. The queen then gives birth to a new Xenomorph form called the newborn, which is by far the strongest of them all, and has a hybrid Xenomorph/human appearance. Number 8. The drone reproductive life cycle. Ever wondered how the drones keep multiplying in numbers without a queen? Well, in the anatomy of a drone Xenomorph, which in itself is a topic for another video, a drone has the ability to lay one viable egg or ovomorph. Obviously, the ovomorphs laid by the drones are small in the beginning. It will then eventually grow into a big one with a facehugger inside of it. Then we again come to the facehugger, then human host, then chestburster, then mature Xenomorph part of the cycle. The only difference here is that the ovomorph, the egg, did not come from a queen, but from a lowly drone. Number 9. The egg morphing life cycle. This one is the most intriguing life cycle in my opinion, and definitely the one that is the deadliest, which also explains how the Xenomorphs manage to multiply by the hundreds in a short period of time in movies like AVP. So the entire process is called ovomorphing, which starts with the absence of a hive. A Xenomorph drone will begin taking hosts and cocooning them in a secreted resin that exposes them to enzymes and growth hormones from their body that gradually shapes their body, the victim's body, into that of an ovomorph. The drone will then inject genetic material from the bulb of its tail into the host, allowing it to incubate as an embryo for a facehugger and continuing the life cycle. This process generally takes 24 to 36 hours to complete and was originally planned to be showed in the first Alien movie. And number 10. The drone mutation life cycle. This is the last one on this list and definitely the one that explains it all. It starts with the classical Xenomorph life cycle, but the most important part here is that if there is a drone and it senses the lack of a queen for long periods of time, it will undergo a metamorphosis stage where it will slowly evolve into another form called a Praetorian. And from that Praetorian, it will further develop or mutate into a queen, which then has the ability to lay eggs and continue the classical life cycle. This life cycle actually explains how the queens came to be in the first place. And later on, in the future, queens are developed from royal facehuggers. Anyway, with that we come to the end of it, so do hit that like button for support and subscribe as well to be a part of the MindQ family. But most of all, smash the bell icon for regular updates on new videos right here on this channel. Till the next one, take care fam.